I'm a daughter, and a sister, and an auntie, and a cousin. I am an athlete, I am an activist, I am a community leader, I'm a social worker. I'm one of Canada's most decorated Indigenous young people, and I'm really proud to be a rising matriarch. St. Laurent, Manitoba is the longest living Métis community, and it is the community that both of my parents are from. I had the privilege of growing up closely connected to my community where my grandparents lived. It's a very important part of who I am. The really significant thing about that piece of land is it is fundamentally tied to our history as Métis people, but it paints a picture of the colonization that my family experienced occurred on that very land, but the reclaiming of our identity and who we are as a proud people has also occurred on that land. So the land where my Cookum lost her language is the same land where I've started to learn my language. So it's been really remarkable as I've stepped into kind of my power as a young Indigenous woman, watching my Cookum and my mom reclaim the parts of themselves that they didn't know they could be loud and proud about. The MMIW Journey of Hope was an awareness run to raise money and awareness for the epidemic of missing and murdered Indigenous women, girls, and Two-Spirit people. Kind of every evening on the news, there was another story of an Indigenous woman or a young girl who was missing or had been murdered. And I became really bothered by how normalized it was for the general public to take in that knowledge, to take in that information, and to simply continue with their dinner, to continue with their conversations, to turn the TV off and kind of carry on like it was business as usual. And it just got to the point where my teacher had said one day, why don't you just do something about it? You have all of this passion, you're fierce, you're this young warrior with all of this potential, go do something. So that summer, I ran 115 kilometers in 4 days to raise money and awareness for missing and murdered Indigenous women, girls, and Two-Spirit people. And I ran from my Cookum's front step. I ran through my community. I ran past where my dad grew up, all of the schools that I went to. I ran by the home that I grew up in. And then I finished my run at the MMIW G2S Plus Monument at the Forks in Winnipeg. It was at that time that I really started to come into that unapologetically owning who I was. Not quietly, loudly in its entirety. That's where I grew into being fierce. It was right from that run that I started to lead a global conversation about violence against Indigenous women, girls, and Two-Spirit people, and also started leading a conversation about Indigenous young people and the role we can play in making really positive changes for our people. A country was founded on the genocide of my people. The very issue that I'm still fighting for is woven into and is embedded into the grounds of our country. You have to be fierce. You can be both fierce and gentle. You can be fierce and humble. It doesn't mean you need to be rigid and rough and intimidating. The journey as a whole of stepping into your power and owning your identity is a really beautiful thing, and I would say that's probably the most fulfilling part of what I get to do. I just want young people to know that it's okay. It is okay to butt against what we've always known. It's okay to tell people and systems no, that's not how it's going to be anymore. Take your courage, even when you're afraid, to do the work so that when people are not on your team and they're in your way, that something gets done about it and that you get to make changes that change your family. And when something changes your family, it changes your community and it changes your nation. It's terrifying to be a young person with passion in this fire and not knowing what to do about it, but the entirety of my work is to ensure that young people know when that spark is lit for them, that they have somewhere to go and someone to look out for them, and that they have generations of people and ancestors who've started to pave that way so that they can build their dreams and that they don't have to be afraid.